In conclusion, tiny habits may seem unimpressive at first glance, but their potential to reshape life is extraordinary. By lowering resistance, building momentum, reshaping identity, respecting natural growth, and compounding over time, small daily actions carry the power to create massive change. The journey of 1,000 miles truly does begin with a single step, and often the smallest step in the right direction ends up being the biggest step of all. If we wish to change our lives, not just temporarily but permanently, the most effective strategy is to start small, stay consistent, and trust that the seeds we plant today will grow into the forests of tomorrow. The power of starting small is not a theory, it is a proven truth, visible in the quiet yet unstoppable force of habits that, little by little, change everything. Critics might argue that small habits are too insignificant to matter. What difference can a single push-up, a single page, or a single coin saved really make? The answer lies in the compounding nature of time. Just as a single drop of water eventually fills a bucket, small habits accumulate quietly but powerfully. More importantly, they create the foundation for bigger habits. No one builds a towering skyscraper overnight. It begins with a single brick placed carefully and consistently. Similarly, every great achievement is built upon the small, often invisible actions that came before it. The difference between those who succeed and those who struggle is not necessarily intelligence, talent, or even luck. It is the willingness to begin small and persist. Furthermore, starting small respects the natural rhythm of human growth. In nature, great things rarely appear overnight. A mighty tree begins as a fragile seed, a river starts as a tiny stream, and empires are built brick by brick. Human progress works in much the same way. Expecting instant results is often a recipe for disappointment, while appreciating gradual improvement allows growth to feel natural and sustainable. Consider the way language learners improve. Studying 10 vocabulary words each day may not feel like much, but over a year that equals more than 3,500 words, enough to hold meaningful conversations in a new language. Similarly, saving a small amount of money consistently may not feel impactful in the moment, but over years it can build financial security and freedom. Tiny habits embrace the principle of compound growth, where small daily investments create extraordinary long-term rewards. Another way small habits shape life is by slowly building momentum and confidence. Success breeds success even in the tiniest doses. When we keep promises to ourselves, even something as small as drinking one extra glass of water or reading a single page of a book, our sense of self-trust grows. This growing confidence inspires us to expand further, and suddenly what once felt impossible begins to feel attainable. Momentum creates motivation, not the other way around. Often people wait to feel motivated before starting a habit, but motivation is fickle and unreliable. Instead, action, even small action, generates its own energy. For example, a student who struggles with procrastination may find it hard to study for hours. But committing to opening a textbook and reading just one paragraph can spark enough momentum to turn a dreaded task into an engaged study session. What begins as a 5-minute habit slowly evolves into a lifestyle of focus and productivity. Ultimately, the power of starting small is not just about productivity or self-improvement, but about cultivating a new way of approaching life. When we embrace tiny habits, we acknowledge that growth is not a race, but a journey. We give ourselves permission to improve at a human pace, to celebrate small wins, and to trust the process. This mindset removes the pressure of perfection and replaces it with curiosity and patience. Life becomes less about drastic overhauls and more about gentle, steady progress. With time, the accumulation of these small steps leads to results so profound that they often appear in hindsight as if transformation happened overnight. But in truth, it was the quiet power of starting small that changed everything. Furthermore, starting small respects the natural rhythm of human growth. In nature, great things rarely appear overnight. A mighty tree begins as a fragile seed, a river starts as a tiny stream, and empires are built brick by brick. Human progress works in much the same way. Expecting instant results is often a recipe for disappointment, while appreciating gradual improvement allows growth to feel natural and sustainable. Consider the way language learners improve. Studying 10 vocabulary words each day may not feel like much, But over a year, that equals more than 3,500 words, enough to hold meaningful conversations in a new language. Similarly, saving a small amount of money consistently may not feel impactful in the moment, but over years, it can build financial security and freedom. Tiny habits embrace the principle of compound growth, where small daily investments create extraordinary long-term rewards. Tiny habits are also powerful because they shape identity, which is the deepest level of change. When we focus on small, repeated actions, we send subtle but powerful messages to ourselves about who we are becoming. If you meditate for just 2 minutes a day, you are no longer just a busy person. You are a meditator. If you write a few lines in a journal each evening, you are a writer. If you floss one tooth after brushing, you are someone who takes care of their health. These identity shifts may seem minor, but over time they accumulate into a completely new self-image. And once identity changes, behavior naturally follows. People are more likely to act in ways that align with who they believe they are. So cultivating identity through small habits becomes one of the most reliable ways to ensure long-term transformation. In this sense, tiny habits are not just about what you do, but about who you become. One of the key reasons tiny habits matter is because they bypass the mental resistance that often accompanies big goals. For example, if a person who never exercises suddenly decides to run 5 miles every day, the challenge feels intimidating and exhausting. The mind resists, excuses arise, and failure seems almost inevitable. However, if the same person commits to something so small it feels almost trivial, such as putting on their running shoes each morning or doing a single push-up after brushing their teeth, the task is too easy to resist. This principle of lowering the barrier to entry allows new habits to take root without triggering the brain's fear of change. Over time, the one push-up becomes 2, then 10, then a full workout, until exercise becomes part of daily identity. It is not the size of the action that matters in the beginning, but the consistency with which it is practiced. Tiny actions compound, and this compounding effect is where the true magic lies. In the pursuit of personal growth and success, many people often imagine that life-changing transformation comes through massive effort, grand resolutions, or revolutionary ideas. We admire stories of overnight success, sudden breakthroughs, or dramatic lifestyle changes, and we hope that one day, we too will find the strength to turn our lives around in a single bold move. Yet in reality, lasting change rarely comes from such monumental leaps. Instead, the most powerful and sustainable transformation often begins with something surprisingly simple: starting small. The principle of tiny habits rests on the idea that consistent, small steps build momentum, reshape identity, and gradually rewire the brain until big achievements become natural outcomes. When we understand the hidden power of starting small, we unlock one of the most reliable paths toward personal success and long-term fulfillment.